Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to completely decode an absolutely incredible cosmic detective story. We're talking about a first contact scenario here, but, not one that starts with your typical simple greeting or a basic map of the stars. Instead, we're unpacking a literal paradigm-shifting philosophy that was just broadcast across the cosmos, left there for anyone patient enough to actually listen.
So, let's kick things off with a very specific number, 31.7 seconds. That is the exact periodicity, literally down to 7 decimal places, of this highly mysterious radio pulse originating from the Tau Ceti debris disk. It's basically this rhythmic, unending heartbeat out there in the dark, pulsing from a location almost 12 light-years away from Earth.
But what's truly fascinating about all this is that the signal was hiding right in plain sight. Literally for 17 years, the crew of the Chanterelle Station went about their highly specialized, highly routine work, completely unaware that a deliberate message was just washing right over them. Their automatic systems faithfully logged this pulse simply as, a recurrent calibration anomaly, so it was entirely ignored. That is, until radio astronomer Mira Osebansu finally noticed it while running some routine diagnostics.
Section 1. The 31.7-second mystery.
The signal was in the data, the way a crack is in a wall, filed under texture. It was literally just treated as background noise. And honestly, it proves a very human flaw, doesn't it? Sometimes we completely miss profound truths simply because we aren't explicitly expecting to find them. Have you ever ignored something monumental just because you weren't actively looking for it? That is exactly what happened here. Our systems just weren't programmed to look for any meaning in that specific frequency range.
Section 2. A language built on physics.
When information theorist Teodoro Vázquez Lima finally sat down and analyzed the signal, he realized something huge. It wasn't a simple beacon at all, but this deeply hierarchical structure perfectly optimized for interstellar space. The way they built this is incredible. They started with a simple 31.7-second timing scaffold. Then, they moved to encoding physical constants to actually prove intelligence. After that, they patiently broadcasted a massive 90-hour math primer, and finally, they unleashed a wonderfully complex semantic network.
Now, what's truly brilliant here is exactly how the signal proved its artificial origin. They used a specific ratio, one that encodes the mean free path of a thermal electron, which is exactly 77.8 angstroms. By using derived plasma physics as a structural ratio, the senders proved, basically beyond a shadow of a doubt, that they understood the exact same physical universe that we do.
Section 3. Clues on Tau Ceti F.
The mystery only deepened from there when planetary scientist Seung-Min Kwon began finding these distinct artificial clues that aligned directly with this dense, high-gravity world known as Tau Ceti F. And honestly, this just brilliantly illustrates the builders' extreme patience. They left behind a ton of redundant markers. We're talking 5 distinct manufactured molecules in the atmosphere, a vast grid of subsurface density anomalies, and these shallow surface grooves that perfectly mirrored their math primer. They practically left a giant neon sign pointing to their message just to guarantee that any scientifically literate visitor was going to find it.
Section 4. An alien categorization of reality.
When human probes, specifically the autonomous Sonda 2, finally reached the surface, the sheer scale of the project really clicked. This wasn't just some encyclopedia of random facts. They left us an ontology. If you're not familiar, an ontology is a foundational theory of what types of things exist, a fundamental categorization of reality. So they were literally teaching us how they fundamentally slice up and define the very nature of reality itself.
Their semantic network detailed 7 major categories of being. The first 6 were things we might actually expect. Physics, process, pattern, relation, memory, and attention. But it was the final 7th category that completely stunned our researchers. That category was defined as the weight of what has been understood.
Section 5. The weight of understanding.
Which brings us right back to Earth, specifically to theoretical physicist Harrow Vey. See, they had spent decades privately researching an abstract concept that, shockingly enough, perfectly matched this alien category. She called it the seam. It's the literal boundary condition for there being anything at all in the universe, the exact place where 2 different kinds of knowing meet but do not merge. She always suspected it wasn't just psychology, but a true physical property of existence.
You can kind of think of the seam as the exact meeting point between the knower, meaning the mind that is comprehending, and the known, which is the physical reality being observed. So the aliens were essentially suggesting that genuine comprehension is not a passive thing. The very act of understanding is a physical event that literally changes the formal structure of reality.
To fully decode this profound concept, Vey back on Earth and Teodoro out on Chanterelle established this massive, groundbreaking collaboration. Now, because they were separated by an 11-day light-speed delay, rapid-fire chatting was completely impossible. But this immense gap actually enforced incredibly careful, deliberate thought. It meant every single message they sent each other carried immense weight and extreme clarity.
And their joint analysis revealed something absolutely staggering. Understanding is a physical force, and it is entirely cumulative. That means every single time a mind genuinely comprehends something, that understanding is permanently added to the formal structural ledger of the cosmos.
When they finally published this framework, effectively uniting human physics with alien philosophy, the public response was just profound. Actually, one 14-year-old wrote a letter to Vey with a line that captures the feeling perfectly. They said, "I didn't know it was allowed to be real." People just intuitively recognize this feeling of deep structural knowing.
But to prove this wasn't just some beautiful, abstract philosophy, humanity mobilized. Scientists actually built a massive facility up in the mountains to physically measure the formal consequences of this seventh category. This sparked a 40-year physics experiment so unbelievably vast that it actually outlived Harrow Vey herself.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this provocative thought. If the builders of that ancient beacon were actually right, if understanding physically alters reality, how much physical weight does your own understanding carry in the universe? Every time you learn something new, every time you truly deeply comprehend something, what are you permanently adding to the cosmos?